quite an interesting backdrop. That's Point of Rocks right over there. That's the bridge that goes over to Virginia. That's Maryland, and that's a railroad track. So today I wanted to show you the sh150. You know, I've been riding this for a while, and me and this bike have been through some good times and some hard times. And you know, I do have like new tires on it. It's riding perfectly. Now I wanted to show you some of the good and the bad things about this bike. So this bike is a bike that's an Italian styled scooter, and you might be wondering what that is. Well, if you look at Italy, there's a lot of bikes that resemble Kimco 150s, Kimco People 150s, and this. And these are extremely good for city riding because of the very large wheels. So when you look at the wheels on this bike, these are 16-inch wheels. Normally when you have a scooter, you have like 12-inch wheels, which are tiny. But this one, the 16 inches are they're much better for riding in the city, and these bikes handle more like motorcycles rather than scooters. This one, it's a liquid cooled 16-inch tire fuel injected scooter, and that's pretty much all you need for riding. This is of course a 150. The 150s are probably one of the better engines in scooters, and what I mean by that is that when you have a 150, you really don't need anything bigger for riding up to like 2 hours away. And this one, you know, I rode it out here to a very long distance just to pick up something, and I didn't really need like a 250. So like the 150cc seems to be probably one of the better engine sizes for scooters. You know, I do have the Super Tenere. That's a 1200cc, and it's a little bit overkill for most conditions. I kind of find that a 650 is perfect for a motorcycle, but the only reason I have a 1200 is because shaft drives don't really come in anything smaller these days. So let's look around this bike. You know, this bike, it's very economical. I get about 90 miles to the gallon, or actually higher than that, like 94, 95 miles to the gallon. This bike was broken into, and that's actually the bad thing about it. Normally, if you had a scooter that was sold in the United States for a long period, you could get parts very cheap. But the thief, you can see like he broke all of this sort of stuff. That's a new crack of looks. No, that's part of the old. See, when he tried to steal it, he broke all of the stuff to get it to start. He couldn't do it, so he just kind of left it in pieces. And the bad thing about this particular bike is that they only made it for 1 year in the United States, or brought it here for 1 year. So these parts are incredibly expensive. I priced out this plastic here, and it was like $60. Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll buy it for $60. But it's shipping from Italy. That's a $250 shipment. So when you consider that, it doesn't make any sense to buy anything for this bike. Now imagine you need something that is just for this bike. Let's say you break the rear brake light. Well, that's going to be a very expensive item because that is part of the plastic. And even the turn signals on this are built onto here. And you might think, oh, that looks awesome, you know, streamlined. Yeah, it's streamlined. It looks great for styling, and this bike was styled, exceptionally well, even with the design of it. But when it comes to getting parts, much more expensive. When you look at the Elite 110, at least that bike has stocks for turn signals, kind of like this. They put them here on this bike in the front, but not in the rear. But if you were to go to Europe, you would see that right about here is where those things would be. So plastic for this thing, parts for this thing is incredibly expensive, and it's not really worth getting. That's the thing. I like this bike a lot. but because of the expense of the plastic and parts for this thing, it's not really worth getting. But the best thing about it is that it's one of these bikes that's very reliable because it's got one of the more reliable scooter engines. It's the 150 that's also in the PCX. So it's a good bike. It's got all the good things that a scooter should have, with the exception of this. The seating or the storage compartment is very minimal. You also have the gas tank here. I'm not that big of a fan because if you do any touring, you're constantly going to be having to open this up, and I would rather have it on the floor. The Elite 110 has it on the floor. It's much better, but that means that the battery has been relocated to a different place on the bike. But you know, like this bike, I've seen these with 70,000 miles. 70,000, that's incredible. So there's one now, I believe the guy wants like $1,500, and it's got 70,000 miles. So these things and the Elite 110 are incredibly efficient bikes, incredibly durable and reliable. So you're not going to have a lot of issues when it comes to engines and all of that. These engines are also very easy to maintain. So, you know, the scooter life, it's something I keep telling riders. You know, I tell all my motorcycle riders, friends, and like, hey, you should get a scooter. They think when I say that, I'm questioning their sexuality, which is really odd. I don't feel bad about riding a scooter. It's just kind of awesome. You fly under the radar when you have a scooter. On a motorcycle, cops are automatically drawn to you, so you can't really get away with stuff. But on a scooter like this, and it being small, and this one, because it's a 150, it still looks like a small scooter, but yet you can go 70 miles an hour. On a 250, of course, you would go 70, 80, but that sacrifice and the looks of the maxi scooters don't look very good. I would rather have something like this that I can still go into the cities, park on the sidewalks, and not get any enforcement tickets. So that is a big benefit. When it comes to handling, this handles really great. You know, I kind of wish this had the little glove box that some of the European ones have in the front, but it's not bad. On these bikes, because of the lack of storage, you are kind of going to have to need a top box. And top boxes always look kind of goofy. At least that's one of the things I've always thought of. These bikes are also very easy to get into the center stands, and this thing just starts right up. It's fuel injected, gets 90 something miles to the gallon. Very easy to ride. And I even have taken this thing off-road. You know, it's not recommended, of course, but whoa, I just slipped like crazy over there. I wanted to give it some gas, but it is an incredibly efficient bike. I think I gave that guy a little bit of a show there. Scooter is really great. Like, I can ride this very much like I can ride a large motorcycle. It is better for shorter trips, but I can like ride from my house to Gettysburg, do like smaller trips, and even do cross country if I really wanted. I think the underseat gas tank kind of bothers me a little. I think that's good for commuters and scooters, but if you want to be one of these people that does use their motorcycle for touring, the underseat fueling kind of annoys me. Same thing with the NC700. I don't like having the gas under the seat. I kind of wish it was in a different place, off to the side, anything other than that little tiny gas tank in the back. Yeah, I do feel that the 150cc engines are pretty perfect for everyday riders. The 110 that I have feels very lacking. I think like if I was to ride with a group of riders, this bike, even keeping up with a 300cc Vespa, will keep up with it without much of an issue. But the Elite 110, if you're riding with a group, you're constantly like top speed all the time. This one, I have a little bit of cushion. You know, it's not like a lot of power, but it does seem like Honda hit it out of the ballpark with the 150. So I rode this thing on the highway, I've ridden this thing off-road, I've commuted on it, and I do agree, if you get one of these cheap, and cheap for this might be $1,500 to $2,100. I think $2,500 might be a little bit on the expensive side, but they are worth getting because they are extremely flexible scooters. But I think that the Honda PCX is better for me. This one, I think the styling is cool. I like the Italian styling, but it's also the most problematic thing. The electrics that these Italians put on this bike is just terrible. If I touch that kill switch in the running position, just rub it, it'll stop the bike. And that's been common in all of the 2010 Elite 110s and SH150s. Another bike that people should consider would be the Honda ADV 150. I think if I had money, I would get that because that's a way cooler bike. I like the ADV styling that it has. Pretty much it for the ride for today. Thanks for riding with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.